Good day to us all. I'm CN Peralta, and today we're going to tackle about one of the specific topics in science, technology, and society, or STS. We're going to talk about biodiversity. But first, let's see what is biodiversity. So, from the term bio, which means life, and diversity meaning variation, diverse or different kinds. So, it is a term used to describe the enormous variety of life on Earth. So, in simple terms, it just really talks about all the living things here on Earth, like different kinds of plants, various species, animals, and of course, human beings. Biodiversity includes all the sea creatures, the living organisms in deserts, and of course on land. Duh. So when you're asked what is biodiversity, just remember the keywords various life, various life here on Earth. So going back, according to research, there are around 8.7 million species of plants and animals in existence, with only around 1.2 million were described or identified so far. So just imagine that quantity of living organisms crawling and also lying here on Earth. I don't know if aliens are included in this, but if they are, that would be really interesting. But I don't know. So just looking at the gap between 8.7 million living organisms and just 1.2 million were discovered and described, which makes sense because aliens were described by experts. So interesting. So going back, I mean 1.2 million, it's not even half of 8.7 million, which means that there are still over 7 million undiscovered species, which really makes the Earth so mysterious and also interesting. So now, let's talk about hotspots. Hotspots. So this is also part of biodiversity. So this is not the hotspot of your phone. This is not the hotspot of your dog or in geology or even the hotspot of your body. But the hotspot we're gonna talk about is biodiversity hotspot. So what is this biodiversity hotspot? So biodiversity hotspots are geographical areas on Earth where there are great significant biodiversity. In simple terms, this is a place where different kinds of species are very abundant and rare. And did you know that Philippines is one of the world's biodiversity hotspots? We are even called the mega diversity country with at least 700 threatened species. Now you know. Now, some species that exist in hotspots are endemic species. You don't know what endemic species is?
Google it.
So, endemic species, these are species or living organisms that can only be found in that specific area. Let's have an example. Like, for example, in the Philippines, is since the Philippines is a biodiversity hotspot, that means there are endemic species here. And those species are only species that can only be found and originated in the Philippines. We have the Philippine eagle, which can only be found in some forests in the Philippines. We also have the tertiary tamarau, Philippine crocodile, the Philippine warty pig, and so on and so forth. So, just do your research. Now, let's talk about the importance of biodiversity. So, what is the importance of biodiversity? Do you know the importance of biodiversity? Because I know the importance of biodiversity, that you probably don't know the importance of biodiversity. Do you want to know the importance of biodiversity? Because I do, and that's what we're going to talk about today, the importance of biodiversity. First, biodiversity provides food and medicine. I mean, all our food supply comes from biodiversity. We have plants that grow vegetables and fruits, and also various species that we can actually choose. Man can't live without food because he'll die. And also medicines, we have herbal medicines and etc. Because that's all I really know, really.
Next.
Second, biodiversity can aid ecosystem stability. We all know trees provide a supply of oxygen and clean air, and Bees supply pollination to plants and other aspects where biodiversity interacts with the ecosystem because we all know they are both compatible to each other. Third is aesthetic and existence values are important. I mean, we all love the imagery of nature, right? Because I do. Because it screams peace, it screams silence, it screams relaxation, and all the views of nature and also wildlife are very aesthetic, right? And also, we also make money out of these aesthetic views and animals, especially tourism. And that's how important biodiversity is. Next, let's talk about the different threats to biodiversity. So now the different threats of biodiversity, this is all about what could be the main causes that biodiversity is slowly fading. First, we have habitat destruction. We all know that the greatest enemy of biodiversity are natural disasters like floods, volcanic eruptions, and etc. That could really affect nature and the wildlife. And by that, all of those animals that were supposed to be in that ecosystem, but because it was destroyed, they would tend to move to another ecosystem and that they're not originally from. Now, not only disasters are the enemy of biodiversity, but also irresponsible and greedy humans that initiates illegal logging, wildfires, expanding our territories, and etc. That could force animals to eventually move to another ecosystem. Next, we have invasive species. Now, this is the opposite of endemic species. This is somehow connected to earlier when animals tend to move to another ecosystem which they're not originally from. They are called invasive species. And because they are not from that environment and they are not compatible with the environment, there would be an imbalance in that area or in that environment. They could destroy the balance of biodiversity in that area. Next is pollution. I mean, this is self explanatory already, so I don't really need to expound this. So, the main pollution that really affects the environment is air pollution, like burning of fossil fuels, industrial emissions, and etc. And sadly, it could really affect the lifespan of many species and also our nature. Another, we have population of humans. This is also connected to the first threat that because of the increasing population of humans, we would tend to expand our territory and invade ecosystems that are very abundant in biodiversity. Lastly, we have over harvesting. This is when we are harvesting more than what we need. This also tends to threat biodiversity. That's what our teacher said. And yeah. So thank you all for watching this video, guys, from start to end. I hope you learned something from my topic and bye, guys.